today we launch our campaign to say no to the transfer of Glenlee, Glendale and Rockyview to Rockhampton Regional Council. It's with a degree of sadness and disappointment that we find ourselves here and in this position. We would prefer not to be having to defend what is rightfully Livingstone territory, but we are doing so and have been forced into this position by what we believe is the avarice of Rockhampton Regional Council. Certainly in having to defend our territory, we do so simply for the reason that apart from de-amalgamation, these suburbs have always, and I stress always, been part of Livingstone Shire Council. Rockhampton Regional Council uses the argument of community interest to basically say these suburbs need to come to Rockhampton. They say that people from those suburbs live in, work in Rockhampton, shop in Rockhampton, send their kids to school in Rockhampton, etc. Well, the opposite applies also. We have a number of people who live in Rockhampton, who work in Yeppoon and commute down every day. And on the weekends, we have residents from Rockhampton Regional Council areas coming down to the coast, using our beaches, our parks, our boat ramps, our lagoon, etc. So it is a nonsense argument, a completely nonsense argument to propose that because of communities of interest, suburbs should transfer. You don't see, for example, Brisbane City Council saying to Logan City Council or Ipswich or Moreton Bay, because your residents come into the Brisbane City area to work, we want part of your land. We want compensation. You don't see that because it is simply a nonsense. Alternatively, Rockhampton Regional Council is now saying the transfer of those suburbs is the fairest thing for all. Well, that's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. The reason I say that is because the Queensland Treasury Corporation, engaged by the Minister for Local Government to undertake a financial review of the impact on the two councils, has clearly showed, the Queensland Treasury Corporation has clearly showed there is a significant financial disadvantage to Livingstone Shire Council if these three suburbs are transferred. Livingstone's sustainability will be severely impacted. The ratios that the state government departments use to assess councils right across the state of Queensland clearly shows that Livingstone's position will deteriorate to the point where we become financially stressed. At the moment we are categorised as a weak council financially. Why would you want to make a weak council even weaker? It makes no sense whatsoever. Also, the ratepayers of Livingstone Shire councils are going to be the victims in all of this. Rockhampton says it's fairer. Well, how can it be fairer when, as a result of a transfer of three suburbs, from 2024, when the change would take effect, every single ratepayer in Livingstone Shire Council would be $161 worse off because we would have to increase rates by that much to compensate for that loss. 10 years hence, that extra money, those extra rate imposts would be $250 per year per rateable assessment for everybody in the Shire. So how is that fair? It just simply isn't. Now the other aspect of this, I guess, is that I would challenge we have been challenged, I beg your pardon, by the residents of Glenlee, Glendale, who want to transfer to Rockhampton. They have continually said to us, you represent us, council, so why won't you support us in what we want to do? Well, the simple answer is there are 1,700 residents of Glenlee, Glendale and Rockyview. If a large percentage of those want to go, that's their choice. But our role as a council is to support the majority of ratepayers and residents in Livingstone Shire Council, the other 36,000 people. So ultimately, what we as a council are doing is trying to protect the interests of the majority of council residents who do not want to see that transfer occur. They have told us by survey last year, and in a significant majority, that they don't want those suburbs transferred. So I'm sorry for those people in Glenlee, Glendale and Rockyview who may want to transfer to Rockhampton, but our interest as a council is to support the majority of residents and ratepayers in Livingstone, and the majority are saying no, we don't want this to happen. One of the other arguments that has been proffered by those residents is to say, well, our rates will be cheaper if we go to Rockhampton. Well, the Queensland Treasury report certainly supports that argument, but I have two questions for the residents of Glenlee, Glendale and Rockyview who want to transfer. First of all, are your rates going to be cheaper going forward with Rockhampton Regional Council? And secondly, people in those suburbs live there predominantly because they want that rural residential lifestyle, and they don't necessarily want a coastal lifestyle. Livingstone's planning scheme allows for that type of living, allows for that larger lot development. Rockhampton Regional Council complained and appealed against Livingstone's planning scheme when we launched it for consultation and approval in 2016. They appealed and didn't like it because we do have that rural residential subdevelopment capability. Rockhampton wants smaller lot urban development. And so I say to those people in Glenlee, Glendale and Rockyview who want the change, be careful what you wish for, because your nice rural residential block in the future may well be surrounded by urban sprawl. And so just keep that in mind when you're voting later this year, when you receive your documentation from the Electoral Commission of Queensland. Now, you will receive notification from the Boundary Change Commissioner in the mail. In that envelope will be a voting form for you to say yes or no that you want that the suburbs to change. You have the option of either completing that form and returning it by return mail, or alternatively you can complete the survey online. The choice is yours.